Good morning. Sorry for the bulletin. It's normally out a lot earlier than this, but I had a bit of a lie-in and also had lots of questions. And returning customers and things. So that's cool. Welcome back. So we can see a little bit of a discrepancy here. We had a shift in on AU. We had the heads up last night, by the way. They moved about 1-2% late last night, and it looks like that dynamic flow is helping the price performance. This is a new thing now. We've got the price performance on the dashboard. I don't know why we didn't have it, but we've got one now. So the key is the dynamic flow, not so much the static nature. You know, where we are right now is where we're going, and they are selling it. By selling it, we're seeing price perform better, and we can see you know, they've sold EU. So what should happen? So that sell and this are directly linked. That's probably the most important sell. Okay, it's the dynamic flow across time, and that's what they're doing. So this is why that's green. Okay, so that's a new addition, so that's cool. QDB scores, well we'll go back to the risk calc obviously, because that's really important. So Swiss yen at the top, which we can remove this, hide that column, and Swiss yen at the top, and Euro Swiss at the bottom. So gold doesn't have any data, so it's always going to have a low score. Okay, no data there for the daily pivot, no data for the daily open or weekly open, and the percentage change as well. So that's how we stand. So we should be seeing greens up here, we should be seeing reds down there. And let's look at the risk calc. We're doing it in a bit of a strange order today, but that's fine. So we're basically -8 tells us that for every one person buying, there's 8 people selling indices. So that'd be quite normal. That you normally conditioned to be fearful, and by fearful they have to sell. So that would be normal. The risk calculation improved. We were at 16 yesterday. We're at 32, and we can see the Dow Jones closed up slightly higher. Nasdaq fell quite heavily. FTSE rising because this is live data. We're at the open, London Open. The France is flat. We had quite a negative day on close for Japan. Apple fell a lot, and the dollar index is flat. So we had a slight increase in the technical scores, but we're still not out the woods. And I think we might even possibly dump still. So I'm keeping an eye on that, and we can have a look at the indices, and we can get a better picture about what we're seeing in the market. So S&P. And so these are probably going to be buy the dip opportunities, but we'll have to see. They'll have to sell it. All right, they have to sell this candle here. They can't be buying. All right, so they are currently selling, so that's fine. It looks like it's going to be a ruse in order for them to actually sell, and then we'll get the buy set up there. So we're quite close. 32.76, 32.80. Those numbers need to interchange for the buy setup. All right, so very close. So if this falls, it should encourage them to sell, and then we're kind of looking for buys. But once we get the crossover, then we can create a support like a demand. This is a supply because they started going long ever so slightly. We had the divergence of sentiment and the moving average, and we created a supply. All right, so we want to create a demand, and then we can look to long. All right, so that's the tactic. So I'm waiting for this. This is my preferred index because it's a little bit more calmer than the DAX and the Dow. The Dow's quite spiky. Do US 30, and we were falling quite heavily, and it seemed to spook the retail guys quite a lot. And it was this move here, and then that move here, and it looked like we were going to have to flush the lows. And at this point, they'd sold these 3-hour candles. They'd sold. I think they're probably thinking this was going to break potentially, and they were like, "Well, do we want to get stopped out? Not really. It's probably safer to sell." And then they certainly sold it, and up we come. So really, they're selling it, so we don't really need to fall, but we have got some resistance here. Let's see. So we've got to be careful. This is likely fake, this price action, because there's no need for it to fall because they're already selling. So I'm being a little bit careful today, and probably worth noting that the Treasury yields are falling. Because of that, we're probably going to see a softer USD, so that might help with risk appetite. and the DAX. So it shouldn't really be falling on the indices if they're selling. There's no reason for it to fall because they're already selling, right? DAX, well, that's the trouble, is that they've gone long. Okay, so we had a breakout of this diagonal, you see, and so we might see a retest. Don't want to do that. Yeah, that's fine, I guess. Is it going to let me? Yeah, okay. So something like this, right? But it's going to be a pretty dodgy diagonal, but you know, something along those lines. You know, we could probably say that we escaped at a diagonal. So what we're kind of looking for, it would be a retest and the bounce, but they're going long. So we don't want to be doing the same with those guys. So I think we'll probably have to see a break of this diagonal and back in the diagonal maybe, especially if they're going long. So I just put a quick update in Discord of that, because I think Andy is trading DAX. I don't know if he's got visibility of this, so he's got to be careful, because if he's thinking about buying, it's a bit of a risk because the herd are buying as well. So I think this is legit. This should be falling because of that. And then lastly, gold. And I said we were going to look at dollar yen today, but I'll have to keep an eye on it, see if I can see a trade setup. We want to try and be targeting the stop loss clusters, but they're probably going to be quite far away. We'll have to wait and see. Gold, we can create a box. Where can we create a box? Probably here. Yeah, that doji there looks okay, doesn't it? And then we'll just wrap up the video. And just remember that we're putting in some changes in the robot logic for Monday, and they're going to be technical based only to start with, and then we're going to add sentiment on top. So we should be above 1919, like I said in yesterday's video. So I won't waffle anymore. Just remember to be careful. I'll be scouting for trade setups today, and I'll let you guys know. Remember that if we're trying to think about selling the dollar yen, remember that the Dixie index, the dollar index, is very strong. We don't really want to be fighting uptrends, because that's what the retail guys do. So we've got to be really careful. And if I spot anything, I'll let you guys know, okay? And I wish you a good day. Remember to trade safely. And we should be back on Sunday for the COT data, because Christian's now back from his holiday. And I'll speak to you guys soon.